Fishing like a local isn't just about catching fish. It's about connecting with the environment and the people who call it home. It's about hearing the stories and traditions that have been passed down for generations and sharing unforgettable moments with the people you meet along the way. Fishing like a local is having an experience that stays with you forever. And with Fishing Booker, you can experience it too, no matter where you are. Discover your next adventure on Fishing Booker.
Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
Hey everybody, today we're diving into the marshy landscapes of Maryland in pursuit of one of the most unique and delicious game animals in North America, the Sika deer. I'll say we'll TBD on the delicious. We're going to do a taste test here. I've got Sika deer, and we've got whitetail from Maryland as well. And we're going to do a taste test comparison to them. So that's going to be part of the episode. But we're going to recount the story of our recent hunt. We're going to talk about some insights into this cool species. And yeah, it's going to be cool. Grab a seat. Let's dig into some wild food.
Join Justin Townsend and the Harvesting Nature crew as they explore the world of cooking wild fish and game while sharing recipes, tips, tricks, and lessons learned from their pursuit of wild food. We sure hope you ate before the show, 'cause you're gonna leave hungry. This is the Wild Fish and Game Podcast.
All right. So, first up, I think... let's just open up with a taste test so the meat doesn't get cold. I guess real quick, do you want to say who you are? Just say hello.
Hey everybody, this is Jack Emmons. I was on one episode earlier about the Wyoming antelope and elk hunt. Glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Hey everybody, this is Collin. It's been a while.
He's back! Blast from the past.
Blast from the past. Back on for an episode.
Oh, let us all down. We thought you were coming back. That's okay.
It's TBD.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, excited.
All right, so you heard in the intro what's going on. So now let's do a taste test. I don't know, Collin, you want to describe what are we looking at?
So we're looking at 4 pieces of meat and... oh, no, sorry. 8 pieces of meat. I can count. 4 of each. 4 of them are Sika that from a Sika hind that I shot today. And then 4 of them are from a whitetail that, Justin, you shot, a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, like a month ago.
But key part, both of them are from Maryland.
Yep.
So
different parts, though.
Different parts of Maryland.
Different diets, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So the Sika is from Eastern Shore of Maryland, and then you shot yours, your whitetail, like northwest of D.C.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, which one do we want to try first?
I kind of want to try the whitetail as a baseline.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Whitetail as a baseline. Go for it. Everybody grab a piece. And we only salted these and cooked in neutral avocado oil, pan-seared, delicious. You can probably hear us all chewing, probably my jaw popping. It's okay. It's a good baseline.
Yeah. It's a good whitetail.
It's really good whitetail. It's probably like a year and a half, 2-year-old.
Yours was a spike, right?
With spike, yeah.
Spike and a fork or something like that?
No, it was just spike.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get the gnarly spiky fork. I wanted to. Now I can't, though, till next
year.
He's
still walking around somewhere there.
Well, but I can't get him because of the antler restriction.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway.
Okay.
All right.
That was pretty good.
We have our baseline. That was good.
Cleanse the palate.
Cleanse the palate.
All
right, cleansing the palate. Let's see. It's different.
Yeah. I think you cooked this one a little bit more rare than the whitetail.
Maybe.
It's much more mild.
Very mild.
Like, it doesn't really have a distinct flavor.
You could almost make it what you want.
You can put it into anything.
I'm going to say it tastes like beef.
kind of. But I mean, if you tasted beef against this, beef would taste bland.
Yeah.
I did that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, how about it?
Yeah.
No, this is excellent. I mean,
It's good, but yeah, you're right.
with any kind of seasoning, rub, whatever your favorite is, this would be
Like Harvested Nature's Big Game Blend.
bingo.
Perfect.
There you go.
This would be. I mean, it's phenomenal as it is with salt, but
It's pretty good. I like it. It's very tender too.
Keep in mind that was backstrap. What was your whitetail? What cut was
That was the backstrap. It
Oh,
was-
okay,
it was
so we're both
the
backstraps.
loin as well.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me, loins.
Pinky up, buddy.
Yeah, I got a little like flavor there at the end. That
Yeah.
was distinct.
So I think one of the major differences, obviously size, habitat, diet, though, where this whitetail was taking, it would have been feeding on grass, probably some corn. Wait, no, where was I at? Yes.
Yeah, so they would have like cornfields.
They would
out there
have had
and stuff.
cornfields. It would have been lots of grass, things like that, whatever roughage. Sika deer have the ability to eat other plants that whitetail don't necessarily do. Like we found out yesterday, holly is one of the things. There's some coastal grasses that they eat. There's different types of like kind of berry-bearing plants that they can consume, but almost they have the ability, almost like a goat, to eat a wider variety of things than deer do, which I thought was really interesting. And then also, they're living closer to, I would say, they're in a marsh environment, but brackish.
Yeah, you'd call
It's
that brackish.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I would say brackish. So
It connects to Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So interesting to see how salt like that, saltwater also shapes plants, because a lot of like coastal plants too carry a lot of salt flavor in them.
Which you can definitely taste in waterfowl. If you ever, at least this was my experience in the Oregon coast, is waterfowl right next to the coast had that very like salty, brackish
Mhm.
flavor. Even the dabblers, not even the diving ducks,
Yeah.
they had that like salty, marshy, brackish flavor, which I would expect is the same out here.
Yeah, but that doesn't come through.
No, it doesn't come through in there.
Doesn't come through in the Sika deer at all. So, let's start off by talking sort of like whatever we know about Sika deer. We can kind of go round robin until we fill in the bubble. So, they're obviously non-native to the United States. They originate in, I think, Japan and China.
Yeah, East Asia.
East Asia, we'll say. Everybody says small species of elk. Like, I don't know if they're in the elk family.
Well, I think they're cervids, so they're part of the deer family. But
Yeah.
I think people say they generally kind of resemble small elk, especially the stags, because their antlers go straight back instead of like crowning forward like deer do.
That's true.
So that's what they look like, tiny elk. Which I mean, having processed an elk before, I thought they kind of smelled like elk on the inside too, in a way.
Mhm.
Maybe that was just some subconscious bias, but I thought that was interesting.
So they live in the marsh and woodland areas in Maryland. Some in Virginia as well, and there's some other spots in the United States where they have, but it is the population of Maryland, fully wild population. They were brought here in, what did I say, 1860s? Started off with like 5 of them, and then since then they've grown in population significantly, and they estimate them now to be about 20,000. The interesting fact that I discovered was that their equitable habitats in East Asia is not actually marshland. But for whatever reason, when they were brought here, and I think it was an island they were placed on.
Yeah, as a landowner, a private landowner, who wanted them. Yeah.
And they just adapted, and the population exploded. And after spending 2 days hunting them, I can tell you that they have 100% adapted to that environment and use it to the best of their ability. I don't know, Jack, fun facts about Sika for you?
Yeah, so we learned that they have adapted to the marsh, but they're not reliant on the marsh. So you may find them in the marsh, but they also don't need the marsh. Another thing that we found was interesting is we didn't see any whitetail the entire trip.
Yeah.
So the region
We saw like 4 on the side of the road near like a farm, but none in
where,
the woods.
Yeah,
where
where we were hunting, we saw all Sika. Well, a few Sika, but no whitetail. So wherever the Sika are is where you would think to find whitetail, but we never saw any sign of that.
Yeah, and there's some theories floating around that the Sika population is actually displacing the whitetail. I don't know for sure, but there's some theories about that, which is interesting because out west you've got whitetail displacing mule deer. So who's the meaner deer?
Whitetail reigns supreme.
I don't know. Not if they get pushed around by the Sika. They're half their size.
Less than half their size. I mean, we'll get to that, I think.
Yeah, let's see. That's a fun go for it.
So I mean, there's been many TV shows out over the past few years talking about Sika, and I guess it's increased the popularity of the hunting them. But one of the key things is that basically they're smaller than deer. They're little creatures of the Chesapeake, ghosts of the Chesapeake, they call them. I didn't realize how small they actually were.
Yeah.
Until I've shot the one on Friday and then went up and looked at it, and it's, what did I say today? It looks like one of those giant rabbits at the county fair. It's basically the same size.
And I think the shoulder height, because we looked it up, on the bottom end,
20 inches.
20 inches, the top end, 40 inches. And that would be for your stags. So
No, that was for hinds.
I thought it was... Oh,
Maybe
was
for
it?
both.
I think it was for both, just universally.
Yeah, somewhere in between that.
Yeah, so females are called hinds, males are called stags, similar to like a lot of the European...
Yeah, red deer,
red
stuff
deer,
like that.
yeah. Yeah, very small, but also to a lot of the habitat that they live in is made for an animal that size to easily move around and not be seen. I would say especially during the we're hunting in January, so there's snow, which we'll talk about in a bit. But the greenery, the shrubs, the marsh itself, like all of it kind of lends very well to just concealing a deer of that size.
That's silent.
Well, yeah,
very
because they're
quiet.
small and you can't really, and I wonder too if that was part to do with the snow, but even
Definitely.
if they were walking around the water, it would be pretty hard to hear them splashing about, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you expect like the whitetail stick breaking, and you look over and there's a whitetail there or something, and that never happened.
No.
Even so, the one I shot today was 14 yards away from me, and I never heard her once.
Yeah.
Your shot took me by surprise.
Yep.
Yeah, I can imagine. Took me by surprise.
So, well, I guess we'll talk a little bit about kind of our experience hunting. So, this rolls back to, I don't know, the fall, maybe the summer, when we put in for permits.
Yeah, I think for the fall, I texted Justin.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, there's this permit opportunity on the eastern shore of Maryland, and we should look at it. There's a lot of permits left.
Yeah.
So you're like, why not, basically,
And then I messaged Jack and was like, hey, come on up.
And when Justin messages me to go hunting, I don't say no.
Mhm.
So so I was the only non-resident, so I kind of navigated that. A bit more expensive for me, but worth it for the weekend spent with you guys.
I'm actually a Maryland non-resident too.
Okay.
So the Sika tag was considerably more expensive for me than it is for. Because are you considered?
Yeah, I consider Maryland.
Yeah.
So you technically you're buying a hunting license and then you're buying a stamp.
Yeah.
And then we had to purchase the permit.
For the
The permit was only like $10 or something, $12.
I think it was more than that.
It was a bit more than that.
Oh, okay.
I think it was
the
30.
Sika
30
stamp this year was like $200. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think like overall cool experience. So we planned it. We did a late season shotgun hunt because Maryland, this particular area of Maryland is shotgun only for deer in general. and so Sika fall under that regulation. So I think we all hunted with 12 gauges.
Yep, 12 gauge.
You had a scope on yours.
Yeah.
I had this little like snap-on magnetic iron sights on mine, and you were just going traditional.
I just had the rail.
Just the rail and the bead.
Yeah. I'd gone to the range that's like 2 days prior and kind of got my bearings with it because I hadn't shot a slug out of that shotgun prior to that. So I wore my shoulder out and found out my range was about 30 yards.
Well,
so good to know that going into it.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That was pretty much the extent that we could see them anyway where we were hunting.
yeah, it was
That worked out.
pretty thick.
Well, it's thick, but they're so small and they blend in so well that, and this is where we get into the snow being advantageous for us, because if there wasn't snow and it was just bare ground, I don't know if we would have seen any of the ones we saw. Maybe the one today because it was so close, but
You'd have to be really vigilant.
yeah.
and focused. Yeah. 'Cause, I mean,
And we were on the ground,
They're like,
so
I would say color-wise, I hate to associate it, but chocolate lab, like
yeah.
color,
Yeah.
maybe a little lighter.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what you see. The fur's very soft.
Yeah.
It's not kind of bristly like a whitetail.
Yeah.
No, it's very soft.
And then your second one was spotted.
Yep, she had spots.
Yeah.
Which doesn't, disclaimer, I want to bring this up, that doesn't mean she was a fawn. So some Sika go into adulthood or mature into adulthood and retain their spots.
Yeah, because she was bigger than
She
the
was
first one,
Bigger than the one yesterday.
which
Yeah.
would insinuate she was older.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The spots were they weren't prominent, but they were there.
It wasn't fawn spots like
Yeah.
all over their body. It was like 2 rows or 3 rows or something of spots along its
I think it
back.
was two.
And they
just
weren't
on-
they
Yeah.
weren't like stark white. They were kind of
Yeah,
faded.
we had to
Gray.
get right into the sunlight. To
yeah.
get
I
a good
had
picture
to
of
I had to
them.
really bring it
Yeah.
out. Yeah, when I was trying to get that shot.
Yeah,
I was going to say, so late season, so shotgun. So, all right, so 12 gauge, we debated between slug and buckshot. I think initially we all went with slug, and then we all kind of switched over to buckshot later.
yeah,
Because we found out, based on the size, like slug, the whitetail that we tasted today, I shot it with 12 gauge slug, all copper sabot out of my shotgun a few weeks ago. But Collin, you shot the one yesterday.
So I'm pretty sure the first hit on that one yesterday was a slug, and then so I shot slug, and then it kept moving, and then I shot buckshot, and then it stopped, and I could see it wobbling, and I put one more slug into it to put it down,
But we only found one slug hole.
and like one little tiny pellet.
One
hole.
little tiny pellet.
So there's a thing to talk about with shooting here, and switching between ammo like that. So in a rifled barrel or a rifled choke, your pellets are going to go through the barrel, and then once they hit that spiral, that rifling, it's going to spread the pattern out. So, that one was also at 60 yards or so it could have just spread out naturally. But from what I read online, and then from everything I saw yesterday, basically I found one distinct pellet hole in it, and then a very clear slug hole in it right through the vitals. So that's what I mean. It was probably the slug that
Yeah.
got her.
But I was going into that to say that
Yeah, sure.
we decided then as we were hunting today to start off with a buckshot because of the size of these deer, they're small enough that the buckshot would actually be more advantageous, especially if they're like running.
Yeah.
You could identify.
It's like shooting a big rabbit.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's kind of the theory that we went into. And I even went, I think this round I loaded buckshot, and then I had a slug, and then a buckshot after, just in case. Because, too, if like we scared them or jumped them and they ran off, like you've got a better chance of.
And I switched to all buckshot. I put in my smoothbore choke, and I went to all double-out buck.
Which paid off for you.
Yeah, it paid off. It was also 14 yards, but still, yeah, it paid off.
You want to tell your stories of the two?
Yeah, so yesterday, Fridays, which was the first day of the 2-day hunt, we struck out in the morning. We saw one, or I saw one off in the woods, and I mean they're quick. They move pretty quick through the woods. And I was on a tree stand, which was has permanently traumatized me from climber stands now in the snow, because it was pretty miserable. But we went after that one for a little bit and couldn't find it. I guess part of the disadvantage of the snow, depending on how you look at it, is there are tracks everywhere. So if you want to follow a track, it's impossible. But at least it gives you a good idea that, hey, they're around. And that, I think that gave us a big confidence boost on Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, there was tracks everywhere, so that was a really good sign for us. So that morning was bad, though. We didn't see anything. It was really cold. Came back and got lunch, and then went back out to a different spot, just trying to explore around. And we spooked one right in the tall phragmites, the tall weeds that grow in the marsh. We spooked one.
Yep.
We weren't sure if
We
it
were
was a whitetail
walking
or
along
a
the
Sika.
road, and it
Yeah, we saw something beyond the other side. We weren't sure exactly what species it was, but we could shoot a whitetail if we saw one. But
it moved so quick.
It moved so quick we couldn't tell, and it was gone. And we didn't want to just blast into the woods. And then you guys, Justin and Jack, sat down alongside the road in some phragmites just to see what would happen, because we saw tracks all over the place.
Because that was interesting. That was the first time that on that trail, the tracks had gone along the trail and not just across.
Okay.
So we thought maybe they would go along that trail and
Yep.
we could post up and
Yeah, because
maybe.
in the first place we set we followed like a logging road in essentially.
Yeah, it's basically a
and-
log access road. Or whatever.
access road, logging road, and they all the tracks just crossed it. It never, and then on the corridor of trees on each side, the tracks would parallel the road there. So it's almost like they just quickly crossed, and then they would use the trees as their main corridor. Here there were tracks everywhere in all directions inside the trees, and then they would cross the road, they would travel down the road. It was completely different.
There was water on each side, and it's been so cold out. Most of that water was frozen, at least on the surface. Some of it was slushy underneath. Some of it was not frozen.
When
but
they're small enough, they didn't break the ice.
well, yeah, those deer are small enough, and they're not going to break the ice. But like we would kind of like at least sink the ice down, if not totally break it in some spots. But yeah, so then you guys sat down, and then I went a little bit farther up the road. I wanted to sit right at the edge of where the phragmites and the tall grasses ended and then turned into more open woodland, so that I could see them come out of the weeds, or at least go into the weeds, because everything that I've read and learned about them is that they like to hide in that marshland. So at some point they got to transition in and out. So I wanted to sit right there and see if I could see them going in and out, which ended up happening. Because around 2:30 or so, I saw one coming through the woods out of the tall phragmites, and then I got up. I waited till I was blocked by some trees, and I walked towards the edge of the road, closer to her, and then I walked parallel with her until I had a clearer shot that wasn't through the weeds, and then I shot, and then she, it was
fell
four
right
shots. Yeah, she walked maybe 10 feet after I shot the first time, but it was a 60-yard shot with a shotgun, which I hate hunting deer with a shotgun, especially at range, because I feel like they're not that accurate, but that's what we're limited to here. But she dropped, and then I went and found her. Turns out it wasn't actually that deep back in there in the woods. The puddles were like maybe ankle deep at the most, for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good for us too for the next day, because we didn't want to cross that canal.
Well, no, even for that day.
That's true.
We went.
You guys
further
went back
there
That's
again.
true. We
Yeah,
did
yeah.
later that day, because we didn't want to cross that canal, because we just looked and we just saw puddle after puddle after puddle.
And so we thought it was all like.
But when you had to go back to get her,
I had to go
and we
back.
found out that it wasn't that deep. So that was good intel to have. But yeah,
because then you got the deer. What was your first impression of the deer?
Tiny.
Yeah.
And I thought I was like, oh man, I just shot like a fawn Sika or something. And then we actually looked up like, is this the right size? And it turns out she's like an average size adult female.
Yeah, she was probably like 24 inches at the shoulder.
Yeah, probably 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
They're tiny. Like, they're really tiny.
Like so
I could pick her
tiny-
up with one hand.
So tiny you can't get the tenderloins off tiny.
Yeah, the tenderloins are
Like
not.
I wouldn't even call them tenderloins; it'd just be tenders.
Yeah, they're like little chicken strips. Yeah, really small, and they have like a very Bambi-esque, doughy-eyed face. So if you're like thrown off by that, maybe this isn't the hunt for you, because she was just kind of like staring at me for the time that I was sitting there with her on the ground. Yeah, very like they say it's like a wedge-shaped head.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice animal. But like, yeah, she very tiny. You can pick her up with one hand. Easy to clean.
And then, so we sat later that day. We decided to go a little further in, because I think I went in. Did I go in first? And I saw like a bunch of tracks, or did we go in both at the same time?
We both went in. I think we both kind of saw that down tree with the the roots that pulled up the ground with it, and kind of just interested in it. Went over there, and it's where most of the tracks converged.
And we later found a bed just like probably 20 yards from there.
Yeah, so we thought, well, they're coming here for a reason, so we sat down and you did some research, found out that we were sitting in this grove of holly trees where
which is something they eat.
They like to eat, and so we sat there till the end of shooting light, but
nothing.
Yeah,
nothing. And I think something. So we went back to that space this morning and sat again, all three of us this time, and still nothing. But there were either tracks that came in overnight, like probably
we had a
10 yards.
fresh half-inch to an inch of snow last night.
Yep.
So it pretty much wiped the slate clean for what we were going to see this morning.
Which was good. Fresh tracks. We were able to go in and see where deer were moving around just basically from the time the snow stopped falling until we were in there. And so that was kind of cool as well to get like a reset. It was a good time to reset. And it looked like we actually didn't discover that till the afternoon because we sat there in the morning. We didn't see anything. And then we left. We stayed. Oh no, we went and sat closer to the marsh for a little bit in the afternoon.
In the morning, we went and sat closer to the marsh, and then that ended up setting up our afternoon sit too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, and I think you tossed around the theory first of like the movement of the deer from the woodland area to marsh area.
Yeah, or either or. I really wanted to sit in an area. So the Phragmites are like these really tall marshy plants. They're like 6 or 7
reeds.
feet tall.
They look like
reeds,
but they're fuzzy instead of like a corn dog.
and they're huge. I mean, you can't see through them. They're really dense. And my thinking was, we can't see into them very far. They probably can't see out very far. They could probably see better than us, but still not that great. But they're gonna. All the tracks pointed to them going in and out of this woody area that was a little bit more open and this dense area of reeds and marshland that was not open. So if we sat on the edge, at some point they're going to cross in and out. And if they're coming from the reeds out, we'll be right there in range as they come into view.
Yeah.
That was my thinking, is like, they'll be right there in range. We'll be ready for them. We can see. We don't have to adjust much. Which actually ended up pretty much how it happened.
Yeah, and I think, too, we developed this theory that they were bedding in the woodland area and they were going out, bedding and feeding in the woodland area and then going out to the marsh during the day.
Yeah, because there's also a no hunting zone in the marshland area that was over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, like where the wooded area is higher ground, so it's drier. So obviously they're not bedding down in the marsh. They're coming out into the woods to bed down.
Yeah, so a lot. I mean, we didn't have all this coming in, so this was kind of like learning as we go. Like we'd all done some research.
Oh yeah,
on
this
them and
is.
stuff.
I'll say it. I've said it once before this weekend, and I'll say it again. This weekend was exceptionally lucky, and I think we just kind of like learned on the fly as we were going through it. Yeah, and we adapted well to it, I think.
And it was cold.
It was really cold.
It was very
Windy and
cold and windy on Thursday, on Wednesday when we got here, and then Thursday
we got here.
Yep, Thursday we got here, and then we started hunting on Friday. And yesterday was not as windy, and then last night it snowed, and then today started off not as windy, and then it got windier as the day kind of progressed, and then this evening was very windy.
Yeah, windy,
very cold. So, and I mean, I think like layers. Geez, how many layers were you in?
Today I think it was in 4 up top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in three bottoms, 2 pairs of socks, snow boots.
Yeah, I was in 4 bottoms too.
1, 2, 3, 4 layers on top, and then a insulated Stormy Chromer, gloves, neck gaiter. By the end of the day.
Yeah, my toes are frozen.
Yeah,
I couldn't
fingers
feel my
and
toes.
toes.
Yeah, it got pretty chilly.
Because you're sitting like your feet are probably in wet because it was cold, but it was still warm enough where the snow was melting and everything wasn't completely frozen. So like your feet were sitting in slush water, which is still very cold. Like, yeah.
And I think too, like Colin and Jack and I have spent a good amount of time in the West hunting. This was not a Western hunt.
No,
like you can't stock Sika deer. Not in the conditions we were at.
My key takeaway of strategy for Sika is sit and wait. You got to be patient for them because they're going to come by. We heard no fewer than 30 shots each day.
Yeah,
around us.
Lots
they're
of shots.
around. There's so many tracks around. We found beds today. Like they're everywhere. You just got to be patient and wait for them to come in front of you, which is exactly what happened today when we were sitting at the edge of the marsh. And all of a sudden, one just appeared. So it turns out I followed her tracks back. She actually walked towards me for about 75 yards on the other side of a tree. So she never saw me, and I never saw her. You want me to tell the story? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then when she finally turned and went up into the woods, that's when I saw her, and she was 14 yards away.
Yeah, and she reacted to the click of your
She heard my safety come off, and she looked over in my direction, and then I waited for her to keep going. And then I was bringing my shotgun up, and she heard the stock brush against my jacket, and she looked at me again. And then I just went real slow over the course of maybe like 30 seconds and swung my gun around and brought it up. And then just found her in my optic and shot with buckshot. And then she dropped right there.
Yeah. No, it was a great shot.
Yeah.
Jack and I were completely caught by surprise because we had set up in kind of a modified...
We were in a triangle, but each of us was facing out. So one person had the entire marsh, one person had the woods off to the right, and then I had kind of like a little bit of the marsh in the woods again. And I already got one the day previous, and I was about to let you guys know. And it was like, hey, there's one coming across. Like, but
surprise!
Then, well, like you guys would have been shooting from behind me. And so that's an unsafe situation. Also, like I think I just kind of figured like more meat. I've got a perfect shot for her right now. More meat in general for us to share. So I told these guys already. I feel bad for shooting 2, and you guys haven't shot any, but we're sharing it. You guys are going to take some home. But she did exactly what we were hoping the strategy was going to.
She came out of the marsh, back to the woodland.
Into the woods, right at the edge. Yeah, didn't see us.
Yep. And then
if anything, she would have seen Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so early in the afternoon, I had seen.
It was after that because he shot her like we hadn't been there more than 30 minutes.
That's 2:30.
That was pretty early. Yeah. So I had seen. I saw a head and 2 ears like pass below some shorter weeds. Yeah. What is it?
Phragmites.
Phragmites.
It's called frag.
Frag.
Sounds
out.
cooler that way.
Yeah. Sounds like local.
So I saw the head and 2 ears pass behind the frag, and then it disappeared. So there was like a little patch of it. I was waiting for her to come out the other side, and I was leaned up on my tripod, and I'm sitting there like I took the safety off and everything. I'm looking down the barrel at this like lane that I have. As soon as she walked out, I was ready for it, and I'm sitting there, and probably 2 or 3 minutes pass. And then Justin like at me, and I look at him, and he points at the tree. He's like, "Use it as a backrest." And I'm like, "I'm like, no, look, I saw something." And Anyway, she never came out the other side. She must have. I assumed she maybe bedded down, or she just walked the opposite direction, and so that just kept in my mind the whole afternoon. And so I'm sitting there just keeping an eye on that same little patch the whole afternoon. And then probably about 20 minutes till shooting light ended, I decided to take a walk and just kind of like sweep along the edge of the marsh and kind of maybe, if I could see her bedded down, maybe get a shot at her. If not, maybe push her out and let Justin get a shot at her. But as soon as I started off heading that direction, I spooked another one that it was in between me and Collin here, and
I didn't even see her.
Yeah, no, it was like right where we were looking. It was like right in our sector.
Yeah,
right at the line, and
if you're not looking, like you'll miss them.
No,
yeah.
and
we probably missed.
It must have jumped up. It must have been bedded down already. It jumped up, took off. I didn't really get a good size or a good look at it, and I was like, well, that was my one opportunity, and it wasn't a good one. I ended up circling around and finding that little patch that I thought another one had the first one had bedded down in. Did find the bed, didn't find the hind, but
well, and then you thought you saw another one, too.
The one that I spooked, that was the first one.
I thought you said another one took off.
Yeah, that was the one I spooked. As soon as I started walking, I spooked.
No. I thought you said there was another one that went.
You saw two total at the end of the.
Yeah.
I saw one like early in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That I thought bedded down. When I went to go find that one, I spooked another one.
Oh, see, I misunderstood you because I thought after you spooked that one, because I saw you come back around.
Yeah.
I thought you said you saw another one like take off back in the marsh.
No, I said that's what she must have done away from me in the cover of the frag.
It sounds so cool when you say it.
Frag. Yeah, sound like locals. Sika, not Sika.
Sika?
One of those ways.
Sika. I don't know how it's pronounced. No, and I was sitting over in my lane, and my biggest fear was I was going to miss something. Because I could see, I think I had more distance than both of you guys.
Yeah, you could see a long ways.
Because I could see
you had all the woods.
Probably like 100 yards, 150 yards.
And you had a bunch of like open puddles that didn't have any vegetation growing on them that kept going, like marshy puddles. That you had a pretty open.
It was open, and I was watching birds and grass, and there was this weird thing. There were two weird things that the sun hit them at a certain angle, and they kept doing this, and it looked like people were standing there looking at me, and it kept tripping me out a little bit. And then you play the game after you've like stared at a singular space for long enough, where you're like, that's a deer. Wait, no, that's a deer.
Oh,
and then you have to move your head and like, is it moving its ears?
There was a stump I saw today, and I was like, has that deer been staring at me this whole time?
Yeah.
And then I looked, and I was like, oh, it's just a stump.
And then it gets you again about 10 minutes later.
Yeah. It's the same stump.
It had that happen several times, and I was just like, man. I know, you're cold too, and I was sitting on a stool, and my stool was leaned forward. So I had to like lean back
because we were against the trees, and the trees sloped down, and it was.
But it worked. We fought our way out this afternoon, and we fought our way out
brutal.
tonight.
I could take complete blame for this. I hate
the shortest way is not a straight line.
No.
I hate walking out of like awful terrain at night. I know that sounds like kind of wimpy of me. I just hate. I don't know. It's the most frustrating thing to like trip over stuff and like stumble and like slip on logs and lose your footing at night. For me, during the day it's fine.
We had talked over the plan.
We talked over the plan, and within 2 minutes I was like, "Screw this plan."
They left me for dead.
He's like,
they headed straight into the frag.
Turn towards the road. We're gonna go, and I was like, "It's pretty deep over there."
I thought the road was a lot closer.
Let's just go. It was like 100 yards away.
Responsibility for all that,
but it was all like. It turned from like shoe top deep water to like ankle
mid-calf,
deep water to like mid calf deep water.
Yeah, we got some water in our boots for sure.
I was like, Collin, I don't want to go any further. We need to turn around.
Yeah,
and he's like,
we turn around.
He's like, and then he steps in a giant puddle and it goes up to his knee, and he's like, yeah, I think you're right.
Well, and even you looked at the map and you're like, yeah, the road's like 50 yards that way through all this dense crap.
Yeah, I was like, it's only gonna get worse.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears a little bit. We talked about what we ate here. I don't know, off the top of your guys' head, we'll talk just kind of general venison stuff, and then I think where we can put it nicely. Based on the flavor that you tasted of this Sika deer, I would imagine the rest of the animals are going to be pretty mild. Like the front shoulders are going to be a little more flavor.
Yeah, if that was the backstrap, yeah.
Yeah. I think you're going to get a little more flavor in the rest of the deer. What are you guys thinking? What are we going to cook with our everyone, whoever, Sika deer?
I mean, my favorite is, you guys are probably going to cringe, but just breakfast sausage.
Breakfast sausage, okay.
Yeah. I mean, that and ground. I mean, you can make anything with ground, but yeah, breakfast sausage was a hit with the antelope. That's probably what
Sika sausage.
Sika sausage. Sika breakfast sausage.
All right. I'm thinking a whole, like, braised front shoulder.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty small cuts.
Yeah, you could keep whole quarters together and easily slow cook it in a slow cooker because they're that tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
And I think you're going to get the most bang for your buck off of a smaller deer like that by cooking whole portions versus trying to break out, like, I'm going to, the front shoulder, geez, that would be a lot to try to even break down to, like, blade roast, arm roast, shanks. Like, you'd be more beneficial because even if you put, that shoulder broken down is maybe 12 inches without the bottom portion of the leg on it.
Yeah,
maybe
probably.
a little more, maybe like 16 inches, but still that's...
No, it's probably 12 inches at the most.
So that's like a meal for 3.
Yeah.
If you stretch it, maybe a meal for 4.
I mean, these backstraps are tiny. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
We cooked the whole backstrap minus the little, like, probably, 2 inches?
Yeah, because it was shot through.
And we got 4 bites. By the way, somebody should eat that.
I'm eyeing it, but I didn't shoot it. So.
Yeah, do you got a knife anywhere? You can cut up the rest of that whitetail, too.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Bring some of that Old Bay down here, also.
Old Bay!
Actually, I was going to see how the Old Bay tastes on the Sika.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll grab it.
Oh, you cut it into fourths, and there's 3 of us.
I don't know.
Tight.
I have a family.
Now we're gonna fight over the last one.
We came here as friends. We did not leave as such.
Well, there's a knife on there. Fight to the... All right. Old Bay here.
Old Bay.
I think we're
tiny stool.
missing a key part of today's hunt, though.
What was
which is
that?
probably the coolest part of the entire trip.
Oh, that's right.
Is as we were walking out.
Yeah.
Well, you guys saw it first, or at least Justin saw it first.
I saw
and
it.
he was like, gets his gun up, and
my tracks.
We're what, like 3 minutes from the end of shooting light or something like that? And I was like, oh, yes. Like, you guys are going to get one? Like, we just saw one.
It was moving, and I was like, this
it looks
deer,
the same. It's the same
size.
color. No, it was a river otter walking through the woods.
Kind of jumping or whatever it does.
Doing its little inchworm thing.
It was
Yeah.
moving,
in the woods.
yeah.
I recognized it, though, because I was like, pulled up my gun, and I was about ready to shoot, and I was like, that's not a deer. And then I was like, it's an otter, and like shouted it out.
But it just speaks to like how different Sika are in general, because you see something else and you're like, oh my god, it could be a Sika. No, it's just a river
What
otter.
are you doing?
I'm trying to do like a little dipping thing where you can like dab it in there,
gotcha.
but it's not coming out very fast.
Yeah, that thing that close some distance real quick.
Yeah, I thought it was coming after you.
If it was a snake, it would have bit me.
I thought it was coming after you.
Yeah,
for
it was
sure.
like 5 yards away from
Yeah, it was real quick. I was thinking I had time to
think
reach
it's
for
cool.
my camera, but
I think he didn't know what was going on, and we didn't know what was going on.
he kind of
probably
was just like
confused.
doing his thing, then noped right out of there.
That was
Yeah.
cool though. I've only seen them from a distance. I've never seen one that close before.
All right, here's with Old Bay.
I mean, everything tastes better with Old Bay.
It's not terrible.
And
That's
it's
pretty
like an established brand. I don't even feel bad about like name dropping because
Yeah, I don't have to cut that part.
No, that's fine. It's Old Bay.
That's
it
good.
tastes like crap.
That's real good.
Which is honestly like the goal for every culinary experience is to taste like a crap.
We went to a local brewery on Thursday.
Yeah.
And had what do we have? We had burgers
Burgers with
We had the burger special.
was it crab dip on
crab
it?
dip
Yep.
on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should have got the double. We all got the single patty. Should have gone double.
Yeah, we were tiny burgers.
Didn't fill us up.
And
So
then-
to fill our hunger, we got the crab nachos.
yeah, which was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Holy smokes,
we
it was
crushed
good.
those.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's so good on the whitetail.
So I'm just going to go back to things I would cook with it. We were talking, I said something alliteration, like sesame Sika, braised sesame Sika, or I don't know.
Seared sesame Sika.
Seared sesame Sika. Like, it's got to be alliteration. It just sounds fun. But there's a ton of options. I think this deer's got a super mild flavor. It's very tasty. If you're into tasting different types of deer, it's a good option. It's a different hunt. We watched a lot of YouTube videos on Thursday just out of entertainment value once we got here because it was too cold to like make a fire or do anything outside. So we were in our little she shed.
Lifesaver.
Which was a lifesaver because
that's
we were
a
going
whole
to
other
be camping.
thing,
And that pulled up a bunch of YouTube videos, and we're just watching people hunt Sika deer. And there's a lot of variety of videos out there. I'll say that.
I definitely give them more credit now, having seen them and hunted them. Than I did before the videos when we were kind of making fun of some of them. But yeah,
I think
I judged them a little bit too harshly at first.
I think it's a more challenging hunt than I thought it would be because I knew it was going to be a difficult hunt.
It's different than whitetail, and I think there's emphasis put on how small they are, but there isn't enough emphasis put on how small they are because, I mean, there could be like a large root and they would hide behind the large root of a tree. It's not like a whitetail where like, oh, they're just hard to hunt because there aren't a lot of them or it's steep country. It's just they're so small.
I think too, this was one thing we were going to talk about. So a lot of people hunt them elevated.
Yeah, from a stand.
Yeah.
And we were hunting them from the ground, which I could see, depending on the type of year, could be an advantage or disadvantage. I felt with the snow, it was contrast really well to be on the ground because you could look across and you could see the movement.
I think that would have helped well if you were up in a stand too.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it would have been as advantageous if you're up in a stand. But I know where you're getting at, and there's another point to this.
I think it was also very similar to like how you sit and hunt turkey.
Yes.
Of like seated, and I was even thinking about it today when I was sitting on my uncomfortable ass stool and was like, I would almost rather be sitting on the ground so I could see it ground level across this patch of land that I'm looking at so I could see the movements versus like even just standing up, your perception is changed and you lose some of that distance.
Yeah. I mean, it was all flat. Like there was not a hill to be found anywhere that we were.
And I noticed that today, as we were standing, a lot of the tree limbs for like the younger trees are right at eye level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting down, you could see a lot farther than if you were standing.
Yeah. Walking out, you're ducking under everything.
Yep.
And then as soon as you take a seat,
you can see in the open woods. We could see pretty far.
Yeah.
Well, I even found myself too. Like as we were going, I'd like kneel down and look and like kind of scan in front of me. It's a different playing field for sure.
Yeah, one of the challenges we thought we'd see when we got here, not knowing anything, was like, would we see a Sika? Like, we didn't know if they were going to be hard to come by. And then walking out and seeing all the tracks, we were like, okay, they're definitely here. And
not only here, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Like, there were tracks everywhere. And we weren't sure, like, oh, is this a big Sika or is this a whitetail? Probably not whitetail based on what, never saw a single whitetail. But, yeah, the tracks were everywhere. And then it wasn't the challenge of, like, they may not be here. It was the challenge of crossing paths with them at a range that you could take with a shotgun.
Or, like, if there were a row of bushes and they walked behind it,
you'd never know.
You would never know.
Yeah.
You would never know. I think maybe stags might be a little different because they've got the horns.
And they're supposedly a little taller. What we read online,
40 inches.
Yeah.
The dimorphism between the two is one of the most prominent of all the deer species, where females are really tiny, but stags are actually pretty big.
Yeah.
Or bigger, I guess. So.
But also, I mean, late season shotgun, like, you wonder if, like, all the stags have been...
That's true. We came in and the spot we hunted at. So here's the interesting perspective as well. You know, like you go shoot deer and an area gets blown out. You shot the one yesterday probably 200 yards from where we sat today.
Yeah, it was 230. I think I mentioned
Yeah.
about. Yeah.
So then you shot one today. Someone in the morning had shot one probably 50 yards from where we were.
Yeah, we saw that
Because we
drag.
saw where they drag it out at. So that's 3 deer taken within 250
yards,
yards in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And they were still coming through there because you saw one after you
Right.
shot his.
Yeah.
Right. But we spent 4 hours the previous day in the same spot and didn't see. Well, you saw.
We saw one
one,
running.
Yeah, it's just you just got to find the right spot, I guess. And I think we did just on the second day.
I think we got lucky.
Yeah.
Because we looked at a couple different spots and we ended up where we ended up because there was a way for us to access it.
Yeah. Access. Yeah.
And there were still people there. There was a hunter that came across us this
That's
morning.
right. Yeah.
Walked by where we were sitting. There were shots all over yesterday, and then shots all over today. And then we talked to a guy who was in there the same time we were on the other side, hunting of the road.
And I'll add this for access is footwear. Very important. I had come in. I'm from Georgia, and I spent the last 4 years in Hawaii, so I didn't have any kind of insulated boots or anything. So I came in with like some hiking boots and some muck boots and waders, and I thought uninsulated, all of it, because I'm living in North Carolina right now in the swamps. So muck boots and waders get you wherever you need to go. And so I thought that'd be the same thing here in the marsh of the Eastern Shore, but no, thank God you brought an extra pair of insulated boots because I would have been calling it quits within a couple of hours. It was so cold. Everything's wet. I mean, these boots go up probably mid-calf height, fully insulated, all waterproof, and you have to have that to go anywhere off the main road, anywhere that you hope to find Sika.
I did have one more pair of boots. Ooh, I have one more pair of boots. I've got a pair of insulated mud boots. I may wear those home tomorrow because all my other boots
wet.
Two gloves this entire time.
What?
No, that's Dumb and Dumber quote.
But they do need to be you are walking around a fair bit, a fair amount. So like you can't just wear waders around or they got to be like comfortable to walk in, and then
the last time I wore waders all morning, I got an ingrown toenail. I had to be surgically removed. So
and then they got to be warm enough to sit for hours, sitting in wet snow, marsh, frozen water.
This weekend in particular, because it was snow and it was cold and windy, was tough to dress for because we would walk in,
you'd
stand or no stand on your back, and you'd get sweaty, and then you sit there, and now it's 30 degrees out regardless, and then the sun's going down, and it's getting colder, and now I'm just getting colder. But yeah, same thing. I had snow boots with me, and a pair of insulated hiking boots, and I was just you're gonna get your feet are gonna get cold. Doesn't matter what you do.
That was my limiting factor, and I had a bonus pair of the best boots that I probably would never own, and that was the coldest part. I was wearing 2 pairs of socks, insulated boots.
Yeah, I had the heaviest socks I own on.
I had 2
toes still went
I had wool socks and some 2 pairs of wool.
I think the water level was pretty low actually, based on what I've read.
Yeah,
because what I've read online from people hunting this area, they recommend hip waders. And we would be like, oh, maybe knee-high boots at the most, or like maybe hip waders. But
avoided the most of it, with mid-calf. Probably could have gotten through like the worst of it with knee-high, you think, to get like where you guys were clumping through?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it went up to my knees. It almost went up there, but yeah.
So
I also would not want to hunt this in the warm parts because it would be like snake heaven.
Oh, man.
Snake and mosquitoes.
It would be bad.
Yeah.
It would be bad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just something you have to suffer through, I think. Like
no experience of it, we don't know, but we can imagine what it would look like.
We've hunted in South Florida.
Yeah, we
in the Everglades,
ran the water moccasins all over the place,
the warm parts of the year, and I would equate this to that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's pretty
if
similar.
you subbed it out.
If it was that warm.
Like, if you're doing early season archery, ooh.
Yeah. That was some of the videos we were watching, too, and it was, the pack outs, he was clomping through some pretty deep swamps, dragging the.
That being said, if
dragging
you're
the stag.
a western or even like an eastern whitetail hunter, or a western big game hunter, and you've packed out any deer, you can easily you don't need to worry about this one. I had this one on my shoulders walking out, and it was no problem. Jack graciously carried my shotgun for me as I was navigating the swamp, which I appreciate. But no, they're not heavy, so you don't need to worry about like a heavy pack out or anything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think overall, though, it's been a pretty awesome weekend.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed hunting with both of you. It's been fun. This is a brand new species to come out and hunt in a brand new environment for me, and I think I had a really good time. I didn't walk away with a deer, but I got to enjoy the fact that we collectively as a group were successful because we developed strategies together, came together. Collin was in the right place at the right time, pulled the trigger, and aim was true, which was great. We got to taste Sika Deer here, and I think it's phenomenal. I'm piqued my interest. I'm ready to hunt it again, given the opportunity. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at. But any last thoughts, alibis, ideas?
That just reminded me of something when we were skinning the one out back just now, like a few hours earlier. There's almost no fat on it.
No fat.
Yeah.
No call fat either. It's like very translucent.
Thin. Yeah.
And you noted the thickness of the
the hide is
thin.
super thin. Super thin.
You could see your finger like poking it.
Yeah.
Thick, dense hair, like fluffy hair.
Yeah.
But thin hide.
I wonder if it's like water repellent.
Yeah.
The
Like
hair,
a goose or a duck or something.
Or like a chocolate.
Or a dog. Yeah. Sure.
I don't know. We could do a water test tomorrow. Flick some water on it and see if it
beads off or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
It'd be interesting. Yeah. All right, cool. Good thoughts. All right, thanks everybody for listening. Hope you enjoyed our journey here in the marshes of Eastern Maryland. We're excited to bring you some cool live shows like this.
Eastern Shore of Maryland.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
Eastern Shore, Eastern Maryland.
Different region.
Eastern Maryland is the same part.
Eastern Maryland's like Baltimore.
No.
Eastern Shore.
Anyway,
it's Eastern
all
Shore.
right. Eastern Shore of Maryland.
Do you want to sound like a cool local?
No, I'm not a cool local.
All
right.
They're never going to invite us back here.
Thanks everybody for listening. Be sure to subscribe, tune in as we explore more. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.